Well, good evening and welcome to the Oak Point Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is a field test of the NITECORE SRT7i. I want to thank NITECORE for sending me this light and making the review possible. The first thing you may notice is that this light is bigger than it may look online. Here's the P23i for comparison. This is a very common TAC light form factor. Now, although the light is on the large and somewhat hefty side, I have average size hands, very easy to hold and manipulate. The first thing I notice that probably doesn't get enough press is that when you charge the light, NITECORE seems to have moved away from the flimsy rubber cover to a very nice rigid latch that just flips up, charge, and then locks back down. High marks for that. You have a selector ring that takes you through the three modes on the light, which are lock, stepless adjustment mode, I call that SAM, and then TAC. And then you have the two tail cap switches that is very common on a lot of NITECORE models. Probably the first thing you want to think about is how you're going to carry and deploy this light. This is not a pocket carry light. Holster comes with it out of the box, or you could clip it onto your pack if you're a police officer, your TAC vest. If you're going to use the clip, a couple of observations: you probably don't want to have this rotated straight up to the top like this. I have average size hands, and this really eats into my finger. So a lot of action, you're going to notice that. One thing you might want to think about is rotate this out of the way, take your natural grip, and then rotate this back up to where it contacts the fingers. That way, when you unclip it, wrap your fingers around the clip, and then your thumb will just naturally be in the right place. Just something to think about. What I'm going to do in the next couple of chapters is go over SAM and TAC. If you've already been to the website, you're familiar with the UI, you know what the score is. I know what everybody's here for. It's beam shots and field tests. So just blow right through those chapters, skip them, and get right to the main event. Now, this ring is very easy to operate with one hand. When you get to the end of the stepless adjustment mode, or SAM, there's some resistance. You have to overcome that resistance to rotate through to the other mode. If you're worried about, well, I may not feel that if my hands are cold or I'm wearing gloves, don't worry, there's some visual indications to help you out. If you're moving towards the low end of the output, which is 0.1 lumens, and you accidentally rotate through to lock, the light is on, it blinks twice to let you know that you've moved into lock mode. On the other end, if you're moving up towards turbo and you accidentally rotate too hard into TAC, the light turns off. In SAM, there are no fixed output levels. The light simply comes on at whatever level you have set by the ring. So this is about halfway. Like I said before, 0.1 to 3,000 lumens. When the light is off, you can half press and full press either of these switches. A half press on the top switch gives you whatever that output level setting happens to be. Full press and release is like a click. Now it turns on without me having to hold the switch. Click back off. Half press is just momentary. When I release, the light is off. The bottom switch, half press is to turbo, full press strobe, release, off. Click top switch, turn the light on, adjust the output mode, up and down. Half press here does nothing, full press and release turns off. If the light is on, half press of the bottom switch, turbo, full press strobe, but notice this, I release, it's still strobing. You have to click to go back to whatever output level you were in. Click the top switch to turn off. TAC is easy, everything is momentary. Half press of the top button gives you low, that's 100 lumens. Full press turbo, then release to off. Half press of the bottom switch, turbo, full press strobe, release to off, and that's TAC mode. All right, enough of the UI. Let's get out on the preserve and see what this light can really do. There is still some light from the setting sun off on the horizon, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I think it's important to look at light output under a variety of conditions. We are starting in TAC mode, and I've got a half press going here, so this is low output. And back across the lake. Let's take that up to turbo. I just flashed someone, sorry about that. And that was a very interesting start. So close-up view of the beam. I wanted you to see what the effect of the strike bezel was. Although as you go out in distance, you notice that quite a bit less. But just wanted you to see it for purposes of completeness. Not quite sure what this is, a little bit under a quarter as a rough guess. This is something I do quite a bit, creek searches. So it's very nice to be able to just adjust the illumination to the specific area that is being searched. That's really about all I need. You definitely get some serious downrange, but for a high candela light, well, high is of course a relative term, that's still some useful spill. Other side of the bridge, same amount of illumination. The only difference is I have my headlamp in 400 lumen flood to increase the closer proximity side to side illumination. And so this shows you how that exact same beam works with a very low flood headlamp. Oh yeah, the bugs really love it. These previous tests, I had the output level fixed. This is about where it is, not quite 50%. The creek area is off to my left. I just came off this direction. We've moved out into a park area. and this is turbo. I'm able to get light onto a couple trees there in the distance that are about 400 yards, not quite 400 yards away, probably more like 375. But there is a lot of light pollution in the back, so I'm not picking up much detail. And yes, there is some heat, but nothing even close to uncomfortable. This is the entrance to two different trails at roughly 50% output. You can see how easy it is to use the dial or the ring to move down and up and adjust the output to your specific needs. This is turbo in excess of 150 yards with parking lot lights to the left and behind me. And here is turbo one more time, approximately the same distance, but with much less light pollution. We only have the parking lot lights there. We have a street off to my left, so it's not a perfectly dark environment, but I have to search in these environments as well, and I've always argued that any light looks great in a perfectly dark environment. So here's one final sweep at approximately 50%. So this is another photonic barrier test. I have a street light literally right on top of me and a line of street lights to the right. We're looking back in a gap that's well over 100, 120 yards. I've got the SRT7i on the right, the P23i on the left. Turbo on turbo. You see just a slightly narrower beam from the P23i, which is getting uncomfortably hot. The SRT7i is no problem. In fact, I'm going to have to shut this down right about now. Okay, we've got the SRT7i back on. I'm just adjusting the illumination up and down, get something comfortable. That's about, maybe 3/4 of the way. So, as I've always said, my job is pretty easy. I run the test, you make the decisions. What else would you like to see? I'm thinking about a more extensive heads up against the P23i, a little bit different environment. Would you like to see more tests in an urban environment, more tests in a wilderness environment? I don't know, maybe you've already seen enough. That's not up to me. That's up to you. And I'll go ahead and leave it there. And as always, until the next review, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching the video.